Ladies and gentlemen, part two. This is episode 62 of my AI love affair. This is part two with Daniel Priestley. And if you haven't listened to the previous episode, go listen 61. It's part one. In this particular episode, we're talking about AI as your first employee. We're talking about context and customization, how to use AI and how to personalize it for your business. We talk about the create and consume wedge, which I think is a really important concept. I would love you to learn and understand, because when I first heard it, it really blew my mind. And I think that the concept of consume versus create is something that we need to understand. We talk about some really cool things, including frameworks, providing structure. This is going to be a really useful episode. So I'm glad that you're here. Enjoy this one and also look forward to part three. So if you don't know, Daniel Priestley is a legend in the entrepreneur space. In fact, he is someone that I credit a lot of my success over the last 13 years to, because I did the Key Person of Influence program. If you haven't read his books, he's the author of multiple best-selling books. I recommend the Key Person of Influence, The Entrepreneur Revolution, 24 Assets. He is a legend. I love the way he thinks, and I definitely think that you should check it out. Come, let's learn. Hey, it's Ronsley. Welcome, you AI geek, to this podcast, My AI Love Affair. Consider this podcast your digital compass, guiding you through the labyrinth that is business growth using artificial intelligence. Running a business as a creative can sometimes be like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube blindfolded. But what if you had a secret tool that could align all the colors for you? That is AI. It's like a master key unlocking multiple doors. Thanks for being here. Let's learn. And here's another thing that I seem to see a lot, because I feel like, and you could disagree with me, I feel like the biggest jump for an entrepreneur is going from solopreneur to entrepreneur, where you have to learn how to deal with team, because with team comes recruitment and operations and process and culture and a whole bunch of other things that solopreneur has to learn to then start growing. And I feel like when we first, at least for myself, when I first started to get it wrong, it was I did not delegate with proper context, and I was expecting my people to understand what was in my head. Are you seeing that is going to be solved as a result of people using artificial intelligence and learning context?
Well, I really feel that AI is your first employee. So when you're an entrepreneur, solopreneur, the very first experiences you will have of delegating are delegating to an AI. It has the intelligence of a 23-year-old who graduated everything, but it doesn't know what to do. So it's sitting there in your office saying, give me anything to do, delegate to me and I'll do it. But I don't know what you want, so I just don't know how to help you. So one of the first experiences that we're going to have as entrepreneurs or new entrepreneurs will have is that employee number one is AI. And there'll be a generation of kids who grow up with AI where it just becomes the most normal thing in the world to be interacting with AI fairly constantly and to be delegating tasks. As we get closer and closer to general intelligence or more general systems, you'll interact with something like Siri or Alexa, and you will give it a task and it will know what apps to go and talk to in order to fulfill that task. So you might say, I want to book a romantic weekend in Venice. And Siri will go, okay, I will use your American Express points and I'm going to go and book on your airline that you normally travel with, and I'll find a hotel booking. And then I'll cancel that appointment that's in the way, and I'll send out some emails to some people notifying them that you're going to be away. And it'll just go through and just do all of that stuff. It'll basically build itself a list. It'll identify what would be the best apps to use to fulfill that list based on what it knows about you. And then it'll go ahead and create all of the steps and do all the steps, but it needs the delegation. So employee number one is AI. We're going to learn how to delegate and improve on how to delegate with that. And hopefully that builds the skill set for the building of a dynamic small team. And it's only when you get a little team together that things start to magically happen. And a team that leverages AI is a great team.
I totally agree. In February, I said to my team, whoever can start using AI gets a 30% raise. And it's probably been one of the most inspired ideas that I've had. And, one of my biggest jumps was learning how to build this team. And as a result, I've learned a lot of parts of entrepreneurship that was just theory or just ideas in terms of especially culture and especially operations. I feel like there's a lot to unpack here. I want to talk about Score App. Tell us what Score App does and what's the AI implementation in that. And also, what is the future for that app?
So ScoreApp is a platform that allows entrepreneurs to set up quizzes and assessment, mostly for the purposes of lead generation. So, for example, if you're a fitness trainer and you think, hey, I'm going to help people to run their first marathon, you can set up an online assessment. Are you ready to run your first marathon? Answer 15 questions to find out. And people get a score, and then you can talk to them about their score. And obviously, you talk to someone who's 75% ready, you're going to have a very different conversation with them than if they came out 15% ready. So, you as an entrepreneur can then tailor your offering to people based on how they answer those questions. So we set that up in 2020. And then once AI became available, we plugged it in so that once we collect the data from people, we can have AI generated custom emails that talk specifically to the needs that were highlighted in the quiz. We can have custom built landing page content, custom built offers. So the AI just generates marketing campaigns that are totally personalized to you. So here's a couple of things that are bumping into each other. Number one, people love filling in quizzes. So they want to learn stuff
Yes.
about themselves. So they answer a bunch of questions. Number two, once we've got those answers, AI loves to generate personalized marketing campaigns based upon that. And essentially, what we've built is a fun, super simple system that allows that to happen. Instagram came along and made photography and sharing pretty photos super simple for everyone. What we've tried to do is make data analytics and personalization and customization as easy as Instagram, that it's just super
Right.
simple. That if you can interact with the basic system, you can have a hyper targeted marketing approach. You can have incredible customization. You can have amazing data analytics, and it all just works.
Do you know why I feel this is so valuable, especially for the way you think? Because you put into frameworks, and I know this because I use a lot of your frameworks. I use the quiz. We've got 10 questions that people fill up. It's a triage, and it helps us with the sales call. And we've been doing that for I don't know how many years now. And it is the frameworks that you have developed that allow you to amplify, the pun intended, the work for the people that are growing their business. They can use the framework and then amplify it with artificial intelligence. Is that the context that people need?
It certainly does provide context. See, the cool thing is that what we've done is with every business that I've got, we already have a context. So for the Dent accelerators, we've got all these frameworks. We know that people are going through an entrepreneurial accelerator. So we just plug AI in and we say all of the work that we wanted humans to do, we're just going to just outsource that to AI and get 80% done on day one because we know the context of the next 12 months. And then we say, okay, with Score App, we know that you're trying to build a quiz so that you can do personalized marketing. So give us just the tiniest bit of information. We will then use AI to build a quiz, write all the content, create all the questions. It'll all take 3 minutes and it'll be thousands of words worth of bespoke custom content. And then we'll use that to then create sales copy and all this sort of stuff as well. So the more we as a business understand the context, the more AI can spring to life and do more stuff for our clients. Same thing with the bookmagic.ai. We know every single step required to write a quality book. For many years, I've owned a publishing company. We have 1,000 authors that we publish. We've seen so many people come through the publishing thing. So we know the context and we know every step. So what we're now doing is using AI to support the whole writing process, not write the book for you, but support the whole process of writing. So essentially, the key message that I'm really saying for any entrepreneur is assume that you know a context about something. And then once you know that context, give the AI the context and see what content it comes out with. So, for example, if I knew a lot about podcasting, right? Let's say you could just say, this podcast is about this. I want all the questions. Here's my guest. I want the intro written. I want the outro written. I want to find out who would be great sponsors for this. So all the stuff that would happen normally, you just automate a set of prompts, and that all you really need to do is say, this is the guest's name. This is what they're talking about. Super simple. Here's a few things. And then suddenly along comes AI and does like all the stuff that an assistant would take, 6 days to do.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. And I want to have this on tape, but I constantly give keepers of influence credit because I wouldn't have achieved any of the stuff I've done if not for the framework, the 5 Ps. Here's a testament to that. At the end of January, I took a flight from Dubai to Cebu. On the flight, there were 6 podcasts on the Emirates podcasting app. Out of that, 4 of them I made, which was crazy.
Wow.
I took a screenshot. I took a picture of that. And then I got to Cebu. I arrived on a Saturday morning and I didn't want to bug my team on the weekend. So I opened my laptop and decided to play. At the end of Sunday, I had an AI app that people today are buying for $2,000 a license, but that's not the point. The point is in 11 days, I had $28,000 in my account and I have never seen that kind of speed. That kind of speed has come primarily because now the way I think is in the pitch, publish, product, profile, partnership. I've got a framework.
Yeah.
And it is because I did that 40 weeks that everything now is so much simpler when it comes to new business.
When you've got the framework and you combine that with AI, then it's like, okay, I had an idea. I need a pitch. I need a published structure. I need an ascending transaction model of products. So you just start feeding that into the AI and out comes all the answers. Here's the next big distinction that we should talk about. There is a coming wedge that is going to drive through society, right? And it's going to divide society in 2 groups. And it's an AI wedge. Now, here's the wedge that I'm warning people about. AI has essentially 2 superpowers that you should know about. Number 1 is the power to get you to consume more than you intended to consume. So if you go onto social media intending to spend 10 or 15 minutes and you end up spending an hour and a half, that was AI that did that to you. It was figuring you out the whole time and it was sending you the content that it knew would keep you on the platform. If you ever go onto Spotify and you didn't intend to listen to the new Blink-182 album, but then you start listening to the Blink-182 album, that's because AI figured out that this is something you might be interested in and it gets you to consume. And you're going to be grateful for that. You're going to be saying, oh, that's amazing. And if you go on Amazon and there's this product and you go, I've been looking for one of those. I wasn't intending to buy that today, but bang, I want that. That's AI figuring you out and getting you to consume something. So AI has this superpower of figuring out all the data and all the information and figuring out exactly how to get you to consume stuff that you didn't intend to consume. You're going to spend more money, spend more time on stuff because of AI. Now, the second superpower is the ability to create. So the next year, there are going to be these little teams of 3 or 4 people who get together, they have an idea, and they build a business that within 9 months is doing millions of revenue, maybe tens of millions of revenue, right? So there's going to be these small dynamic teams that build 5, 10, 15, $20 million companies in months. And we're going to see that happening super fast. Right? We're going to see so many examples of these AI teams, and they're only going to have 4 to 8 people tops, and they're going to punch well above their weight, tens of millions of revenue and 100 million plus valuation. Because AI has the superpower to get you to create more than you could ever create on your own at speed. Now, the wedge that's coming is the create consume wedge. And the create consume wedge is that a huge chunk of society are going to be pushed by AI down a consumption rabbit hole that they'll never recover from. They will just simply be hyper consuming and they will lose their ability to think critically and create stuff. They'll just become consumers. And another small percentage of the population, maybe as little as 5%, are going to become the hyper creators, and they're going to do the creating for everyone. They're going to build stuff than the other 95% combined because of AI. Now, what we're going to see is a massive inequality between those 2 groups, because if you are caught in a trap of consumption, you end up with no time, no energy, no creativity, and no money, and no health, and no fitness, and no energy. And if you're on a creativity accelerator, you end up with businesses and companies and assets and teams, and suddenly you're on fire with everything that you touch, and you can't be slowed down at that point. So we're going to have one group accelerating up and another group accelerating down, and we're going to have this huge wedge in society called the create consume wedge. Well, that's what I call it. And we need to be aware that it's not a 50-50 split, it's a 95-5 split. That wedge is pointing at the top 5 and the bottom 95.
Hey, AI Geek, thanks for listening. Your job doesn't stop here. I want you to lend your voice to the conversation. So you can join those conversations, discussions, new trainings, new recordings, and the rest of the AI Geeks by going to aigeeks.co/Discord. Also, share this podcast with a friend, another potential AI Geek. Until then, much love.